Many people wake up each morning hoping that motivation will carry them through the day. They wait for a feeling, a spark, a burst of energy, a wave of inspiration to get them moving. But this approach is fragile. Motivation is not dependable. It rises and falls with your mood, with your circumstances, with the weather outside or the thoughts in your mind. If you rely only on motivation, you will move inconsistently, act sporadically, and progress slowly, if at all. Discipline, however, is different. Discipline does not depend on how you feel. Discipline is a choice made again and again, no matter the condition of your mind or body. It is the silent agreement you make with yourself long before the alarm clock rings. It is the voice inside that says, I do this not because I feel like it, but because I said I would. Discipline asks nothing from the world outside. It demands only that you remember who you are and what you are committed to. When you start your day with discipline, you do not hesitate. You rise even when you are tired. You move even when the body resists. You begin your practice, your work, your steps, regardless of what the mind says. This builds something far more valuable than temporary motivation. It builds inner strength. It builds trust within yourself. You no longer need to feel good to act. You act, and in doing so, you create stability within. Discipline is like a blade. Each morning you show up, you sharpen it. With enough repetition, discipline becomes natural. It no longer requires force, it becomes flow. And from that flow, motivation can arise, not the fleeting kind, but a quiet, lasting fire. But even when that fire dims, your steps do not stop because they are no longer tied to your feelings, they are tied to your principles. This is why discipline must come before motivation. Discipline is the root, motivation is the fruit. Without the root, the fruit cannot grow. Do not chase energy, build structure. Do not wait for clarity, act with intention. The world outside will always fluctuate, but the one who acts with discipline becomes unmoved by the wind. In the morning, the choice is simple, though not always easy. Will you follow the emotion of the moment or the commitment you made yesterday? Will you rise only when it feels good, or because you have trained yourself to rise regardless? Before the body begins its motion, the mind must first awaken. This is a principle often overlooked in modern routines, where the day begins with haste, phones lighting up, schedules demanding attention, and bodies moving before the mind has even settled. But true strength, real clarity, comes not from how fast we move, but from how consciously we begin. The moment you wake, your mind is in a delicate state, still open, still untouched by the noise of the day. It is in this quiet space that you have a choice to flood it with distractions or to anchor it with awareness. When you start with presence, with stillness, you begin from a place of balance. A calm mind creates purposeful movement. A scattered mind creates tension in everything it touches. Mind before movement is not just about meditation or silence. It is about establishing leadership from within. The mind must lead, and the body must follow. If you move without intention, your actions become reactive, automatic, unconscious. But if you guide your movement with awareness, even the smallest step becomes meaningful. Before standing up, breathe. Before reaching for the world, return to yourself. Feel your breath. Notice your thoughts without attaching to them. Listen to the body, not with judgment, but with attention. What is tight? What is open? What is needed? These questions can only be answered when the mind is present. There is no value in racing into the day with a mind full of clutter. You may accomplish many things, yet still feel empty, restless, or disconnected. When the mind is left behind, the body is just going through the motions. This is why so many people feel tired, even after doing very little. They are not exhausted from movement, they are exhausted from disconnection. By aligning the mind first, your movements become precise, grounded, and efficient. Whether it is stretching, walking, training, or simply making tea, the quality of that action is elevated when the mind is involved. It's not about doing more, it's about being fully in what you are doing. This principle also applies to decisions, to speech, to reaction. A mindful beginning slows impulsive action. It creates space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies power, not power over others, but power over self. The one who can pause before moving can choose wisely rather than react blindly. To start your day strong is not to leap into action without thought. It is to honor the quiet before the noise. It is to allow the inner world to settle before facing the outer one. Change is often imagined as something dramatic, a breakthrough, a transformation, a powerful moment that turns everything around. But real change, the kind that lasts, rarely arrives as a sudden event. It comes slowly through repetition, through the quiet, often unnoticed rituals that are performed without applause. This is the nature of small routines. They appear simple, even ordinary, but over time they create shifts that are deep and irreversible. What you do each morning may not seem significant on the surface. Drinking a glass of water, sitting in silence, stretching the body, writing down an intention. But these small acts, when done consistently, begin to shape the way you see yourself. They tell your mind, I care for this body. I respect this day. I choose how I begin. From there, momentum builds not from intensity, but from consistency. The strength of a tree is not only in its height, but in the roots it builds underground where no one sees. Your routines are your roots. They stabilize you. They hold you firm when the wind comes. When life becomes chaotic, it is the simple habits you've cultivated that guide you back to center, and because they are small, they are sustainable. You don't need to rely on willpower, you rely on rhythm. Discipline is born not from force, but from structure. A morning routine of 5 mindful minutes will do more for you over a year than occasional bursts of effort followed by long stretches of neglect. Many chase big results quickly, only to collapse under the weight of their own expectations. But those who understand the power of small routines move differently. They are patient. They are steady. They know that the strongest walls are built one brick at a time. There is also a psychological shift that occurs when you choose your habits consciously. You are no longer simply reacting to the day, you are setting the tone. Instead of being pulled by circumstances, you are anchored by your practices. This is not about adding complexity, it is about clarity. Simplicity is powerful when it is done with purpose. It is also important to recognize that every routine is a message to the self. Rising early is a message. Moving the body is a message. Choosing silence over distraction is a message, and the mind listens. Over time, these messages begin to form your identity. You no longer need to convince yourself that you are disciplined, focused, or clear. You become the person who lives that way. Because your actions confirm it each day, the way you begin your day sets a silent tone that echoes through every moment that follows. A chaotic morning rarely leads to a calm day. A reactive start often brings scattered thoughts, hurried actions, and a sense of being behind. But when the morning is claimed with presence and purpose, it creates momentum that quietly shapes how you carry yourself, how you respond to challenges, and how you feel as the day comes to a close. Victory in the morning is not about how much you do, how early you wake, or how hard you push. It is about beginning from a place of alignment. Rising with intention, even in silence, is a form of victory. Making your bed, stretching with awareness, breathing before movement. These are not trivial acts. They are small declarations of control, order, and self-respect. They anchor the mind. They prepare the spirit. This victory does not require the world to cooperate. It requires only your presence. If the first hour of your day belongs to you, free from distraction, free from noise, it builds a quiet confidence that stays with you. It does not matter what storms arise later because your center was already formed. That center is not built through ambition, but through ritual. Through the gentle discipline of choosing to lead the day rather than be led by it. There is a direct connection between how we begin and how we end. The mind remembers. If the morning is rushed and reactive, the body carries that tension throughout the day. Conversations become heavier, thoughts move faster. The evening arrives and rest does not come easily. But when the morning is won calmly, mindfully, deliberately, it creates a foundation. And from that foundation, clarity flows. Victory in the morning is what makes peace in the evening possible. Peace is not something that appears when the day is over. It must be cultivated from the very first step. If your mind was scattered at sunrise, it will not magically become still by sunset. But if you began the day with awareness, if your first steps were rooted in discipline, then peace at the end is not something you seek. It is something you return to. This cycle, repeated each day, becomes powerful. You no longer live in survival mode. You no longer hope for peace as something distant or occasional. You create it, not through control over others or mastery over events, but through mastery over how you begin. The The victory is quiet. It happens when no one is watching. It is the victory of rising before distraction, of choosing stillness before sound, of acting before reacting. The body is not just a vessel that carries us through the day. It is the temple of our experience, the place where strength is built, emotions are processed, and presence is cultivated. When the body is neglected, disrespected, or rushed, the mind becomes dull, restless, or reactive. But when the body is honored, especially in the quiet hours of the morning, clarity begins to rise from within. To treat the body as a temple is to approach it with care, with discipline, and with reverence, not from vanity, not from fear, but from recognition that this is the ground upon which everything else stands. If the body is weak, the mind becomes burdened. If the body is tense, the breath becomes shallow. If the body is scattered, the day becomes difficult to navigate. Morning is not just the beginning of the day, it is the doorway between rest and action. And how you pass through that doorway shapes the rhythm of your thoughts, your movements, and your choices. To approach the morning as a ritual is to make space for intention. It means waking not to rush, but to reconnect. To stretch not to check off a task, but to open the body and release what it holds. To breathe not just to survive, but to feel alive. Ritual is not about complexity, it is about meaning. Even the simplest acts, washing the face, drinking water, standing in stillness, become sacred when done with awareness. The morning ritual is a quiet ceremony between you and yourself. It is a reminder that before you engage with the outside world, you must first return to your own center. From that center, the rest of the day unfolds more clearly. When you treat the morning as ritual, you begin to train not just the body, but the mind and the spirit. The discipline of rising early, of resisting distraction, of choosing movement over idleness, these are acts of respect, not only for the body, but for the life that flows through it. The body becomes stronger not only in form, but in function. Energy flows more freely. The breath deepens. The senses sharpen. This practice does not demand perfection. It asks for consistency. A temple is not built in a day. It is built brick by brick over time with patience and care. In the same way, honoring the body each morning shapes your relationship with it. You begin to see it not as something to fight against, but something to work with. You begin to listen more, push less, and understand the language of tension and release in a world obsessed with urgency. The pressure to move quickly is constant. We are told to hustle, to push harder, to fill every hour, and to equate movement with progress. But speed without direction leads nowhere. A fast pace may create the illusion of productivity, but without clarity, it becomes a cycle of exhaustion. Direction, on the other hand, brings purpose. It turns every step, no matter how small, into something meaningful. When you begin your day, the first instinct may be to get going, to act, to tick off tasks and prove that you are productive. But if you have not taken the time to decide where you are going, you may find yourself moving fast in the wrong direction. The cost of speed without intention is not just lost time, it's disconnection from what truly matters. Direction requires stillness before movement. It asks you to pause, reflect, and choose your path before you begin to walk it. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. A person who starts slow but knows where they're going will always reach further than the one who rushes without a clear aim. In the morning, this means giving yourself the space to align, to breathe, to listen, to ask, what matters today? What do I truly need to move toward? It is easy to be busy. It is much harder to be deliberate. Anyone can fill their day with noise and activity, but the one who moves with direction moves from a place of power. Their steps are quieter, but their presence is stronger. Their actions are fewer, but more effective. They are not pulled by urgency. They are guided by clarity. The body responds differently to this kind of movement. When your direction is clear, the mind is calm. There is less tension, less friction. You no longer chase everything. You commit to a few essential things and do them well. There is no rush, only rhythm. You may be moving slowly, but there is precision in your steps and confidence in your choices. This mindset extends beyond the morning. It becomes the foundation of how you live. You are not trying to do more. You are trying to go deeper. You are not impressed by how fast something happens. You are focused on whether it is aligned with your values, your purpose, your inner compass. Even when the world urges you to accelerate, you are anchored in your direction. And the more this practice is repeated, the more it sharpens your ability to sense when you are drifting. You begin to notice when movement is just motion and when it is momentum. You can correct your course before time is wasted.